around 200, and they live in Manhasset, Great Neck, Albertson, Mineola, and Wilston Park. She helps another 50 families in Suffolk County. Her ultimate goal is to have a one-stop resource center where anyone who has a need can be helped. She is continually adding new programs, and she helps everyone from children in a lunch program, a school lunch program, to senior citizens with diet and exercise. She's also launching a new computer workshop soon, and she is going to also have a program for the formerly incarcerated to help let them back into the community. She's one woman, and she's a dynamo, and she hasn't let anything stand in her way of helping those who need it. She believes in networking and getting out into the community to find that need. And I hope that you will collaborate with her and introduce yourself to her, and hopefully more people will be helped. But I mean, imagine she's helping 250 families.
Wow.
Thank you. Next, I would like to talk about Ellen Viola. And Ellen is an ABA teacher. She's a special education teacher for children with autism. And when I first heard about the nonprofit that she started called Teen Heroes, I was impressed that she started a sports league for children with autism. As a teacher who specializes in ABA, she was in constant contact with frustrated parents who thought there was a lack of team sports. But Ellen knows firsthand how emotionally rewarding it is to work with these children, and also believes that playing team sports can improve children's autism skills, like listening, following directions, taking turns, and playing together as a team. And being able to participate in a team sport is a rare opportunity for many of these children. What I didn't know after I met Ellen was that she is not the parent of a child with autism. She is not the relative of a child with autism. She is a teacher that went out, and I know many of you here know the expense and the time it takes to start a nonprofit. And she did this on her own so that she could give these kids the opportunity to play league sports. I was so impressed with that. Her Teen Heroes has doubled in size every year and offers soccer and t-ball leagues, and she's ready to start the new season on March 24th. And I was hoping that there would be some people here that would be inspired enough to volunteer to be with these Teen Heroes. So thank you. Next, I would like to acknowledge Maria Fiore. And Maria is also a special education teacher, and she's in the Great Neck School District. Maria and her husband Michael have 3 children, Isabella, or Bella, who's 6, and 4-year-old twins, a boy and a girl. Maria told me that Bella had some difficulty in preschool with concepts like color recognition and letter recognition, but she knew as a special education teacher that her daughter was not learning disabled, but she didn't know exactly what was wrong. It wasn't until Maria and her friend got together with their children and had an Easter egg hunt where the eggs were very, very visible places that they discovered that Bella could not see because she couldn't find the eggs. She was finally diagnosed with Leber congenital amaurosis, which is called LCA, and it's a very rare genetic disorder that results in the progressive loss of vision. And Bella has an even rarer form of it called RDH12, related LCA. Only 1,800 people in the world, with less than 100 of them living in the United States, have this eye disease. And because it's so rare, it's called an orphan disease. It receives almost no attention from the research community. But that didn't stop the Fiores. Through a lot of hard work and research, they found 3 other families whose children have RDH-12, 2 from the U.S. and 1 from Belgium. They formed the RDH Fund for Sight to fund research. The first $70,000 they raised went to a scientist from the University of Pennsylvania who began preclinical proof on a gene therapy cure. Then they went on to raise an additional $250,000 and are now looking to fund another researcher who is conducting trials. In the meantime, Bella is learning Braille and is working closely with an orientation and mobility teacher, learning skills for her to live independently and safely in her home and community. She's taking gymnastics, she's a Daisy Girl Scout, and she has her first boyfriend. And in other words, while they continue to look for a cure, Bella is like any other 6-year-old, living a full and independent life.
Yay!
I would like to, we have a very special guest here, and I would like to acknowledge, and if you please come up, sir, Governor Patterson is here tonight.
How are you, sir? How are you? Nice seeing you again. Huh? Okay.
Good evening, and thank you for welcoming me. This is the first time I've ever spoken in front of a group and didn't know what my table number was. But I wanted to congratulate Beverly Fortune for all she's done at the Long Island Press Associates. The weekly columns that all of you are able to read, the networking between the number of women's organizations here in Long Island and all the kind sponsors for having this event. You would be very surprised to know what I learned in the mid part of the last decade about women's businesses. I learned in 2005 that women's businesses, that women, first of all, constitute 51.8% of the population. They also constituted 29.2% of all of the businesses that were pre-cleared to get procurement from New York State. In other words, they had bonding, they had raised money, they had passed all the tests, they were able to act in a business context, and they were 29.2% of the businesses that were pre-cleared by the state, meaning that they had passed the threshold and could do business with the state. How many of them do you think got contracts? 2.64%, less than 10%. So that old adage that the way men would improve their lot in the world is to put the names of their wives on the company. Well, in New York, if you put the name of your wife or anyone on the company, you were sure not to get business. In fact, the women's businesses and all of the minority businesses added up got only 5% of New York State's contracts. So in 2007, when I was chosen to become lieutenant governor, we decided that we were going to turn that around. And then in 2008, I became governor, and I won't tell you how that happened. But we embarked on a minority and women's business enterprise plan. And by the time we left, in the area of banking, insurance, and the sales of securities and bonds, where women had gotten 3.1%, women now receive 25% of the contract. And in the area of business procurement, where women got 2.64% of the contracts, by the time we left at the end of 2010, women were now getting 23.2% of all the business in this state. So it is a testament to all of you who are working so hard, and all of you who have struggled and toiled and been better at times, but couldn't get the same opportunity. That has changed in New York State, as New York State went from the bottom 10 in terms of providing opportunities for women-owned businesses to 4th in the country, as it stands right now. And I would like to congratulate a women's business owner, the head of Echevarria Travel, Cheryl Echevarria, who is being honored this evening. And works with us at the National Federation for the Blind. She is dynamic, articulate, perceptive, courageous, and outspoken, and she turned what could have been a tragedy in her life to an epic model for women and all people to follow in the area of business development and how to get around obstacles. So congratulations to all of you, and thank you for inviting me to be among you this evening.
Well, obviously Cheryl is very good at networking.
She gets the networking.
Bueno, Nelson Echevarria, Cheryl's husband.
Oh, this is Cheryl's husband right here.
You can see me anyway.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Okay, so Governor Patterson has graciously said that he will
Yes,
stick
madam.
around
Yes,
a little
yes.
bit so we can get pictures and everything like that.
You need to see it, so.
Next,
Okay.
I would like to acknowledge Lori Eames. Lori's over here. For more than 20 years, Lori commuted to her job as the vice president of a New York City PR firm. In October 2011, Lori, her husband, and her only child, Robert, who's 22, were leaving for a much-needed Vegas vacation. Robert said that he wasn't feeling well and thought he was coming down with the virus, so he decided to stay back in New York with his dad. Lori and her husband continued on to Vegas, but when she landed, she learned that Robert had been admitted to Winthrop University Hospital. She immediately boarded a plane back for New York, and by the time she landed here, Robert had been diagnosed with a brain tumor and had undergone 2 brain surgeries. And as a mother, I mean, none of us could imagine having to have something like that happen. From that moment on, Lori never left Robert's side. But as Robert became aware that his mother wasn't going to work, he became very upset. He knew how successful she was and how important her job was. But she said she was not going to leave him. She couldn't. Finally, Robert said, a great suggestion, well, why don't you open your own PR firm? At first, Lori didn't think that would work. But there was no way she was leaving Robert, so then I guess they had to figure that it was going to take this idea. So they decided that they weren't going to worry about being sick all the time. They were going to move forward. So Lori named her PR agency, the PR Freelancer, and she now specializes in book authors and small businesses. Her business has taken off so much that she had to leave her house, and I think part of that was her cats, she said, right? And she now has an office that's very close to her home, and Robert goes to work with her every day, and they have another person in the office named Christina, who they just make up this great team. Robert is doing extremely well, in spite of his mother's cooking, and that is, Robert, terrible what he has to go through with that. But as the president of her own company,